Gold has always been there, hidden in plain sight. But seeing it is another matter entirely. In this investigation, you will learn how rivers quietly decide where it ends up and why most people never notice it. Gold forms deep underground, under extreme heat and pressure, where minerals slowly crystallize inside solid rock over vast periods of time. In some of those hidden veins and fractures, gold exists, not as bright, obvious treasure, but as something subtle, often locked inside stone itself. But the earth never keeps anything still. Over time, that rock breaks apart. Rain seeps into cracks, temperatures shift, and pressure weakens the structure. Slowly, fragments are released into natural systems shaped by one force above all others: water. And once gold enters a river system, everything changes. Because rivers don't move everything equally. They sort material based on weight and energy. Lighter particles travel freely, but heavier material behaves differently. It resists movement, drops faster, and begins to concentrate in specific locations where the river loses the ability to carry it. That means gold does not spread evenly through a river. It hides in structure, inside bends, behind obstacles, in low-energy zones, and deep within compact layers where water slows just enough for heavy material to settle. And here is the key truth from the start. Gold does not disappear in this process. It concentrates, it gathers, it builds in predictable zones inside the river system itself. So when you stand at the edge of a river, you are not just looking at water. You are looking at a moving system that is constantly sorting everything by weight in real time. Where the flow is fast, it carries. Where it slows, it drops. And in those transitions, heavy material begins to accumulate. Most people never see this. They only see water moving over rocks. But you are not here to guess. You are here to investigate a river the way real prospectors do, reading it, understanding it, and following the hidden patterns it leaves behind. Because once you start noticing those patterns, you stop seeing a river as random water and start seeing it as a system with structure, memory, and repetition. You move along the same stretch of river, not randomly exploring, but tracking behavior. Because rivers repeat their logic. Ahead, the river bends sharply. The outer edge moves fast and aggressive, cutting into the bank, while the inner edge slows down dramatically. That inner zone loses energy, and when energy drops, carrying power collapses. You step closer. The sound of the water changes slightly, not louder or quieter, but uneven. The rhythm breaks in places, as if the flow cannot maintain stability. You kneel and run your hand through the gravel. It feels different here, more compact, more layered, as if material has been deposited and compressed over long periods of time. That alone tells you something important. This is not a one-time deposit zone. This is a repeating accumulation zone. You dig slightly deeper, letting the current wash away loose sediment while focusing on what stays behind. The surface opens, and darker material begins to appear. Black sand, not scattered, but concentrated in small pockets. That concentration is critical. It shows the river has already sorted heavy material into specific locations here. You collect a small sample from one of those pockets and place it into your pan. You lower it into the water and begin to work it slowly. At first, everything behaves normally. Light sand disappears quickly. Finer particles follow. The material begins to thin out as expected. But then something changes. The remaining material does not clear evenly. Heavier fragments begin to cluster instead of dispersing. They gather in tighter formations, resisting movement more than anything around them. You continue washing carefully, focusing only on what refuses to leave. And then it happens. A dense, concentrated cluster settles at the bottom of the pan, heavier, more stable, more persistent than the surrounding material. It does not behave like the rest. It settles faster and stays anchored longer. You pause. Because this is no longer interpretation. This is confirmation. Inside that same concentrated zone, something else appears. Something distinctly heavier and more compact than everything surrounding it. A small fragment that behaves differently from ordinary sediment, settling with unusual density and resistance. Not large, not dramatic, but unmistakably different. This is the first real physical result of the investigation. Not theory, not assumption. A confirmed heavy deposit within a system that is actively sorting material in that exact location. And that means something critical. If one fragment is here, the river has been doing this repeatedly. Because gold does not settle alone. it follows accumulation patterns. So this single confirmation is not the end of the investigation. It is the beginning of a much larger signal. The river is not just passing through this place, it is holding heavy material here. And where it holds one, there is almost always more nearby. So now everything changes. You are no longer searching randomly. You are following a system that has already shown you exactly where it keeps what it cannot carry. Now that the river has revealed its first truth, you don't look at it the same way anymore. What seemed like random water movement is no longer random. It is a system, quietly sorting material by weight over and over again, in ways most people never notice. You move slightly downstream, staying within the same bend, because rivers don't reset their behavior every few steps. They build patterns, and those patterns repeat. As you continue observing, you stop thinking in terms of places to check and start thinking in terms of energy, where the river has power and where it loses it, where it carries and where it lets go. You notice another bend forming ahead, sharper than the first. The water is forced to change direction more aggressively, and in that forced movement, something important begins to happen. The outer edge of the bend becomes fast and cutting, while the inner edge slows down noticeably. That sudden loss of energy is not subtle. It is a clear transition in how the river behaves. You step closer to the inner side of the bend. The sound of the water feels slightly different now, not in volume but in rhythm. It no longer moves evenly. It hesitates in places, then rushes, then hesitates again. That instability is important because it signals repeated shifts in carrying power. You kneel down and run your hand through the gravel. This time, the material feels more compact under your fingers. It doesn't shift as easily as before. It feels layered, as if it has been deposited, compressed, and reworked over time in the same location. That alone tells you this is not a temporary surface. You go a little deeper, gently clearing material while letting the water carry away what is loose. And then you feel it again. Resistance, not soft sediment, not shifting sand, but something firmer underneath, a stable layer that does not move with the current. As you clear more carefully, you begin to see subtle differences in texture. The material changes from loose and scattered to organized and compressed. This is where the river stops behaving like a transporter and starts behaving like a depositor. You begin noticing darker material forming in small pockets. At first, it looks like simple staining in the sediment, but as you pay closer attention, you realize it is concentrated in specific low points. It is not spread evenly. It gathers where the water slows the most. Black sand appears in distinct clusters, forming in the same types of locations repeatedly. That repetition is not coincidence, it is structure. The river is consistently sorting heavier material into the same zones over time. You collect a small sample from one of these concentrated spots, not because you expect something immediately, but because you are confirming a pattern. You place it into your pan and begin to wash it slowly in the water, letting lighter material escape first. Sand disappears quickly. Finer particles follow. With each movement, the contents become more focused, more dense, more revealing. You are no longer guessing, you are watching the river's sorting process in action. As the material settles, heavier fragments begin to remain in the pan. Not scattered, but gathered in a specific line along the bottom. They resist movement more than everything else, settling faster and staying in place longer. Among them, you notice variation. Some particles behave differently from the rest. They don't move with the same ease, and they settle in slightly different positions, responding to motion in a heavier, more deliberate way. That difference matters because in a system where everything is already sorted by weight, even the smallest variation becomes significant. You pause for a moment and simply observe what remains in the pan. This is no longer about searching randomly, it is about recognizing repetition, density, and concentration. And what you are beginning to understand is simple but powerful. The river is not just moving material through this place, it is holding it here repeatedly over time. And once a river starts holding instead of passing, you are no longer looking at a travel path. You are looking at a collection zone.